Y'all, can you believe it? We have 90 days to go into 2024. Welcome to the Opt-in Podcast. I am Melissa Franks, your host, and this is where we go from surviving to thriving in business. Now, if you've been with me for a minute, you know that the last 90 days is my favorite time of the year. Maybe because it kicks off with my birthday. I don't know. But the last 90 days is my favorite thing. And I always give credit to Miss Rachel Hollis because this is her jam. And if you don't know who Rachel Hollis is, you should go find her just purely for this. But many moons ago, maybe in 2019, maybe in 2020, I can't really remember when, maybe even before that, might have been 2018, I was introduced to her last 90 days challenge. And basically what it was is that you set 3 goals for the last 90 days, and then you spent that time working towards them. And I thought it was brilliant. In 2018, in the fall of 2018 or 2019, I can't remember which one it is right now, I led my entire organization of 200 plus technology professionals through a last 90 days challenge. We had an all hands meeting where we defined our goals, and then they took them back with them to their desks, like literally and figuratively. And then we as a collective company worked towards achievement. The amount of movement and progress we made in the business in those last 90 days was unreal. And then I continued to do that with my corporate teams as I went on. And it was something I did in my personal life. And then I came here on the podcast and shared it with you. In fact, last year, every week we had a theme for the podcast, and we worked through those themes for the last 90 days. Now, this year, I'm going to take a slightly different approach. We might talk about it once a month. I'm not going to do the all intensive that I did last year, but as we are looking down, as we are staring down the last 90 days, I wanted to talk through exactly how I recalibrate and what that looks like for me. And this is really comprised of both Rachel Hollis's methodology as well as something that Ed Milet refers to as separation season. And what separation season is basically those periods of time where everybody just takes a break. They just kind of lean back a little bit and they're like, I've done all the hard work. I'll hit it again in January. Or it's the summer. Nobody's working anyway. I worked for a global company and it was headquartered in Europe. And you want to know what? Nobody worked in August. Literally nobody. And so August for me was grind time. I never took a vacation. I put my head down and I got more work done in those 4 weeks than I did in the 3 months prior. It was just a reality. So when we're talking about separation season from Ed Milet, what we're really talking about is that period. Y'all know what it is. It's Thanksgiving to New Year. If you're in the US, it might even be a little bit earlier depending on where you are, but it's that period of time where everybody stops doing stuff. Honestly, the only people that work inside of corporate America during that period of time are the salespeople that are trying to meet their quota. And as soon as they hit their sales target, they split. Between them and the finance team, because the finance team has to close the books, are the only people working. Everybody else has taken a back seat. In fact, in technology, because it's the busy season for the business, most people in technology have nothing to do from November through early to mid-January. Fun fact. So that is what separation season is, at a period of time where everybody's taking a break. Ed Milet's thesis, my thesis, and Rachel Hollis's last 90 days all purport the same thing. If you take massive action in the period where people are taking a break, you will get so far ahead they will never be able to catch you. If you take massive action while they're taking a break, you will get so far ahead nobody will be able to catch you. Mind blown. Just think about it. You get to January 2025 and you are so far ahead of your competitors, your coworkers, that they can't even see where you're going. That's the dream, right? That's the purpose of the last 90 days. That's the purpose of the big push. That's the purpose for ruthless focus and execution. I know, I'm sounding intense. You get intense from me occasionally, but it's because I am so passionate about taking the opportunities that are given to you and exploiting them. You listen to this podcast because you want to find a way to balance your work and your life. You want to thrive in your business setting while also having a life that you love. That's why you're here. Now, whether you are a small business owner or you're a corporate employee or you work for a small business, it doesn't really matter, because in the end, we all want the same thing. We want to accumulate wealth. We want to do work we love. We want to spend time doing the things and with the people that we love and care about. And the way that you enable that to happen, the way that you take those goals and you make them the top goals and the top priorities, is by taking massive action to separate yourself from the pack so that you can reap the rewards. Because here's the thing, when you start stacking massive action on top of itself, over and over and over again, you just win. You just win. And in this instance, I'm not actually telling you to go work 100 hours a week. All that I'm saying to you is don't take your foot off the gas. All that I'm saying to you is act with intention. All that I'm saying to you is take advantage of the gift that you've been given and see it for what it is. So Melissa, how do we do that? How do we start taking massive action? What does that look like? First thing is you got to figure out where you are so you can figure out where you're going. The very first thing. For most businesses, September 30th is the end of the third quarter. And that is a really, really good time to snap your financials. It is a really, really good time for you to dig in and dive deep and see what the end of the year is going to look like. I recommend that this happens on a monthly and quarterly basis, but this is pivotal because you still have 3 months to go to meet your goals and objectives, but you have to know where you are. So what you do is you look at actuals. How much money have you brought into the business this year? What's the number? How much money have you spent in the business? What's that number? How much is remaining? Your net profit. What's that number? Then once you know those 3 things, the next thing that you want to say is, am I expecting to collect any more cash based off of activities that I've already done? Am I expecting to collect any more cash based off of the activities I've already done? Now, this could be specifically, do we have people on payment plans? Are there people on memberships? Are there annual contracts that are going to be renewing? You want to take a look at that. You also want to look at the expenses. So is there anything out there that I'm not aware of? And what you want to do is you kind of want to develop, if I did nothing else, how much more cash should be coming in and how much more cash should I be putting out? And what does the end of the year look like? Now, most businesses or departments, depending on what your function is, are concerned really about 2 things. How much money you've brought in and how much money you've spent. Now, if you are a function like operations, if you're a function like finance, if you're a function like legal, what you want to know is how much money have I spent and am I in my budget? That's what you want to know, because you're just an expense. You're just a cost center for a business. And so you're not generating revenue. But anybody that's actually generating revenue in the business or has the ability to influence generating revenue in the business, so marketing, sales, executives, product people, et cetera, customer success even, what they want to know is how much our revenue is projected to be at the end of the year. And that's a combination of how much your revenue is today and what you expect it to be at the end of the year if you didn't sell a single thing. And then look at that and say, is that what I want it to be? The answer may be yes. You may have made your goals 6 months ago. You may actually have said, like, I don't need to sell a single thing because I blew my goals out of the water and I can afford to not do anything for the rest of the year. But remember what I just said to you about separation season. If your goal right now is to just skate through the rest of the year and pick it back up, cool. But if you actually listened to this long, then you are looking to your competition, your coworkers, your whatever. And in order to do that, what you need to know is where you are, where you're headed, if there's a gap, okay? And then you can start defining the massive action. So let's say that in scenario A, you've completed all of your goals for the year, whether they're financial or they're something else. You've checked the box, you're done for the year, and you have 3 months left. Well, then the call to action for you is what goals you're going to set for the last 90 days. What are you going to do above and beyond that? How are you going to push the needle? If you're a corporate employee, this means how are you going to go after more bonus dollars? If you're a small business owner, how are you just going to generate more revenue and wealth in your business? What are you going to do to exceed? And what do you think you can do? Is it $1 million quarter for you? Is it a $2 million quarter for you? What are you going to do? And now if you are in the camp of, I haven't achieved all the goals yet, you still have 90 days. So that's where you get real specific. What actions do I need to take? What things do I need to do? How do I need to act and behave in order to achieve those goals? So whether you've already knocked it out of the park and you're done for the year, or you still have some work to do, the process is exactly the same. What do I need to do to get the result that I want? And here's the kicker with the last 90 days piece, because in order to execute it well and get the results that you want, you need to not be dependent on anybody. There's a small caveat here that if you own a business or you lead a team, you may be dependent upon them taking action and doing things. And so that's a little bit of a risk. But generally speaking, the last 90 days goals should be so tactical that you could achieve the goal yourself if necessary. Yes, it should be that specific. So if you say that you want to make $1 million in the fourth quarter, you should know that you can do it on your own. You should have confidence that you can deliver those results without needing 25 people to take actions in order to enable you to do it. And if it's going to require a ton of people to take massive action in order for you to achieve the goal, you need to change the goal. The whole point of the last 90 days is to incrementally move to separate yourself from other people, to really end the year strong. And in order to do that, in a period where we know everybody takes a little bit of a break, you've got to rely on yourself more than you rely on others. So you're going to set the 3 goals. And my rules around the 3 goals are that 2 of them are business and 1 of them is personal. Because let's be also really, really clear about the situation that you are in right now in your life. It is the last 90 days of the year. Regardless of your religious affiliation, there are going to be parties, there are going to be celebrations, there's going to be family get-togethers, there are going to be things. You are going to have less time to take action on your business goals than you would, let's say, in first quarter when all those obligations are not required. It's just reality. So let's just be realistic with ourselves, which is why if you are pushing for something in your business, if you are looking to really propel forward, if you are on the hunt for what to do next, it's exactly why you must set 2 business goals, 1 personal goal. Because that personal goal may be that you go to all the family functions that you're scheduled. That personal goal may be that you continue your fitness routine even though your schedule's crazy busy. That personal goal might be that you literally unplug for 2 weeks at the end of the year to be with your family. It may be whatever, but you must ensure that you take care of your whole person, because if you try to grind it out the way that you would in first quarter, you have all of this life happening around you, you're just going to be in a bad mood. You're going to resent the thing. You're not going to enjoy it. You're going to be stressed out. Nobody's going to want to be around you. It's just reality. And this is a little bit of a deviation, how Rachel and Ed talk about their philosophies on this. Ed's actually mellowed out a little bit with his more than he gets, but I really feel that balance is important, because when you're in a season of push and nobody else is, it can get really lonely and frustrating. So what you're going to do is you're going to set 2 business goals and 1 personal goal. And then you're going to keep track of how you're doing. With my teams, when we did this, we all had kind of a little bit of a tracker, and we even went so far as to create children goals for each of the months. So we would say what we were going to achieve for each of the 3 goals in October, November, and December. Up to you if you want to do that. I always found that it was helpful to break apart the goal a little bit so that we knew what actions we needed to take and if we needed to do anything to stay on track. But that's neither here nor there. That's really how you do it. The whole intention is that you really get a lay of the land. You look back at the last 9 months to see where you are. You compare that to where you want to be at the end of the year. You take all of the factors into consideration, and then you determine what actions you need to take in the quarter in order to meet the goal that you set. That's really it. It's really, really that simple. Now, last year, I struggled with this a lot because my life was chaotic. I really didn't know in any dimension, personal or professional, what the next day was going to bring. I even think that I started the last 90 days working for the startup, and then like 2 weeks in, I was no longer working for the startup. It's going to be an interesting exercise for me personally because this year I have a bit more stability, and yet things are really still up in the air, nowhere near where they were last year. But the question might become, how do you do this when you're uncertain about what the next 3 months holds, when you can't predict, when things just aren't clear? For me, in that situation, for me, what I'm going to be doing this time around is I'm going to be creating value-driven goals. I'm not actually going to be creating goals that are monetary in nature, which is massive left turn for me. I generally have very hard goals that I can measure with data and assess and do all those things. I'm not going to do that this time around. This time around, mine are really going to be around quality of life and value I'm delivering to my clients and where I'm focusing my energy and attention. And that makes me really uncomfortable. Like I said, as somebody that really likes finality and to be able to measure things, like I'm a runner. So like I even watch my miles on my watch. I know what pace I'm at. Like I know all the things. Like I'm a data girl. This is really uncomfortable. And so I have been delaying writing my goals because I don't really know what success is going to look like. What I do know that my personal goal will be very specific to spending time with my kids. Very similar to what it was last year. It's a little bit different, but it's going to be really about continuing to create a safe place and fostering, a really fun environment through the holiday season for them. Last year, it was just really uncertain. I want this to kind of be our refresh and reset for what things are like in the new normal. But as far as business goes, it's really going to be about the quality of delivery for the people that I work with. It's going to really be, did I do everything I could do? Did I provide the value I said I was going to deliver? The people that I work with achieve the results that they're looking for. And I think my last one is really going to be about getting really clear on what 2025 looks like professionally. Just having clarity about what that next 12 months is going to be. I have a lot of thoughts on directionally where it could go. I think for my own sanity, I need to be committed to a direction. So really what I'm going to be focused on for my goals is the quality of delivery and the value that I'm providing to the people I'm working with. I'm going to have clarity around what I'm doing professionally in 2025. And I am going to be creating an environment for my kids and spending time with my kids so that we can really step into this new chapter that we are in as a family and have a magical and amazing holiday season, because we haven't had one of those maybe ever. So those are my goals, and they feel so squishy. They make me uncomfortable. And I always say that if a goal makes you uncomfortable, it's the right goal. So maybe that means that these are the right goals. I'm not really sure. I may change them again. This might be a period where I just have to wade through the uncertainty. And this is why I'm not being so intentional and focused with all y'all on the podcast this year about the last 90 days, because I'm trying to find my way. To a certain extent, I feel like Bambi. When Bambi stood up to walk for the first time and couldn't quite figure it out. That's where I feel like I am, which is a wild place to be after working for over 2 decades, for having a really amazing career, for being in business for myself for the past year. Feels like I'm a baby fawn trying to figure out how to walk. And that's uncomfortable. One thinks that after all of the time that they've put into their professional world, that you'd have certainty by now. And many do. I just don't. And I have a lack of certainty professionally, and I have clarity on what my personal life looks like. However, what the next year brings is full of uncertainty. And so it's a growth stage for me, I guess, where I just have to figure out what's important and work towards that and trust that it's going to work itself out. So if you're in a season like that where things are changing, the landscape is different, you're really uncertain about the next 90 days, let alone the next 12 months, I invite you to do what I'm doing and come up with some more qualitative goals that are tied directly to just how you want to spend your time in the fourth quarter. You can still separate yourself. You can still go far and away above the rest without having hard, measurable targets. It just means that you're doing more internal growth and less external growth that can be validated with measurements and metrics. I shared all of that with you because I just really want to inspire you that every person can go through this process. Every person can take the last 90 days and make a material shift wherever they want to make the shift. It's really up to you to dedicate the time and effort and energy to do it and then do the work. So I'm going to do the work on my squishy, qualitative things that make me uncomfortable because I don't like goals to be squishy and qualitative. And I encourage you to figure out what your goals are. I encourage you to set your sights on finishing the year really, really, really strong. I encourage you, invite others to the party. You don't have to do this alone. Get some friends, get your family, get your kids. Set some goals and work towards them. You can still enjoy the holiday period. You can still take time off. You can still take a deep breath. You can still celebrate in the fact that you made your goals for the year long before the year ended. You can still do all of those things. And at the same time, you can continue to take action so that you pull ahead, so that you set yourself up for success, so that 2025 is a continuation of the progress that you made. I invite you to spend some time setting your goals. I invite you to share those with me. You can either email me at melissa@melissafranks.com, or you can DM me on Instagram, or you can comment in this YouTube video what goals you're setting. I'd be so curious. And if you want to know more about the last 90 days process, go find Rachel Hollis, her podcast. She walks you completely through it. If you want to know more about separation season, I would suggest you go follow Ed Milet now, because he'll start talking about it after Halloween, maybe around Thanksgiving. You've got a while. But those are really the two people I want to credit for those ideas and principles, because they were not my own. I borrowed them from them, and they have materially changed my life. And I think that they can materially change your life if you spend some time really living them intentionally. So until we speak again, friends, we will be in the last 90 days at that point. I wish you well, and please know that you are wise, you are strong, and you are capable, and I believe in